Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're going to be looking at this book, Eating the Big Fish by Adam Morgan.
Oh, yeah.
And basically, it's all about how challenger brands, those brands that aren't the big, huge names that everybody knows, how they can compete and even thrive up against those really big names.
Yeah.
And so we're going to be looking at some excerpts from the audiobook version.
Okay.
And basically, we're trying to uncover some of the secrets and strategies that these challenger brands use. And also, I think we could think about, how some of these principles might apply to our own lives, too.
For sure. Yeah.
So it should be really interesting to sort of see if we can glean any wisdom from these challenger brands and how they approach things.
Yeah, and so often we see those big brands just dominating the landscape,
Right.
But Morgan really lays out a compelling case for why it's not always about being the biggest fish in the sea.
Yeah, like it almost feels like we're conditioned to think
Exactly.
bigger is always better.
For sure.
So what is it about being a challenger brand that's actually advantageous?
Well, I think one of the big things is this agility they have, They're not weighed down by, all the layers of bureaucracy and those legacy systems that the bigger companies often face.
Right.
So they can kind of be more responsive to what's happening in the market.
Makes sense.
Experiment with new innovative ideas and even connect with consumers in a way that feels more authentic and relatable.
It's almost like the
gap way.
The speedboat versus the cruise ship analogy.
Yes.
The speedboat can turn really quickly and go and check out some new little cove or something.
Exactly.
Whereas the cruise ship is kind of stuck.
Yeah, you're on a set path.
On a set path, yeah, exactly.
The cruise ship.
But we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about the advantages that those big brands do have.
Of course. Yeah, absolutely. And, the PIM study, which, analyzes the performance of thousands of companies, it found that those brand leaders in Europe, they enjoy like a 40% return on investment compared to only 26% for like the second-ranked brands.
Oh.
And in the US, it's 32% versus 18%. So
Those are big numbers.
yeah, they definitely have a head start.
It seems like they're starting the race,
They are, but that same study,
Okay.
it also found that differentiation plays a really crucial role.
Okay.
So even brands with a smaller market share, they can still outperform if they offer something, truly unique and valuable to their target audience.
So there's hope for the underdogs.
Absolutely there is.
But how do they even get a foothold? How do they make headway when people are bombarded with information all the time and are so distracted and skeptical
It's a tough landscape.
of all this, this marketing that's thrown at them?
It is, and Morgan really paints a picture of this, the modern consumer, bombarded with messages, attention spans shrinking, and their trust in advertising just plummeting.
Yeah.
One study showed that consumer trust in brands actually dropped from over 50% in 1997 to around 25% in 2006.
Wow.
It's a big drop.
That's a huge drop, yeah. And I mean, I can really relate to just the feeling of information overload.
Yeah.
Like just yesterday, I was trying to read something online.
Right.
Between the pop-ups and the autoplay videos and my phone's buzzing with notifications, I was completely lost track of what I was even reading.
Yeah. It's no wonder consumers have become more discerning, and more selective about what they choose.
It makes sense that they would have to be
Exactly.
filter out the noise.
You can't just shout your message the loudest anymore. You have to be more strategic, more creative, and really attuned to your audience's needs.
Okay, so how do they cut through the noise? And Morgan outlines these 8 what he calls credos that challenger brands can use. And the first one is intelligent naivety.
Yeah.
Which sounds a little bit counterintuitive.
It is fascinating.
So what is he talking about there?
Well, he's basically saying that sometimes not being an expert can be an advantage.
Okay.
It's about approaching a market with fresh eyes and not being weighed down by all the conventional wisdom and those preconceived notions that can actually stifle innovation.
So it's like asking those dumb questions that nobody else is asking.
Exactly.
Because they're so set in their ways.
Yeah, and a great example of this is Eric Ryan, the founder of Method Cleaning Products.
Yeah.
And, he had no experience in that industry, but he did have a design background, and he just asked this simple question: why can't cleaning products be beautiful?
Interesting.
And that one naive question really led to a revolution in the industry.
So he's like, why do they have to be purely functional and utilitarian?
Right, exactly.
And kind of boring looking.
Yeah.
And so by introducing this sleek design And the eco-friendly formulations method became the 7th fastest growing packaged good in the U.S.
It's amazing what a fresh perspective can do.
That's a really great example.
Yeah.
It makes you think, like, what field or industry would you like to disrupt with some fresh thinking? You know,
Right.
what assumptions would you challenge? What dumb questions would you ask?
Yeah.
I love that.
It's a good thought experiment.
It's a really great challenge, I think, because it makes us realize that we all can be challengers, you know?
It can all be
we can all
differently.
differently and approach problems with a new angle.
Exactly.
And I think also one thing that's interesting these days is that the lines between product categories are blurring.
They are, for sure.
You know, people are using products in ways that were never envisioned by their creators.
Yeah, think about Flickr.
Okay.
What is it? Is it photo sharing? A research tool? A travel agency?
Right.
Consumers are really blending these categories now.
Yeah. And like my smartphone,
Exactly.
it's a phone, it's a camera, it's a web browser, entertainment system, all in one. So that's interesting to think about from a challenger brand perspective because,
Competition is everywhere.
yeah, the competition can come from anywhere.
Right.
It's not just about being better than other brands in your category.
Yeah.
It's about understanding how consumers are integrating your product into their lives in broader ways.
Exactly. And I think that's where this idea of a lighthouse identity comes in.
Okay.
You know, challenger brands, they need to stand for something.
More than just...
More than their products and services, right. They have to communicate their values and beliefs in a way that resonates with consumers emotionally.
It's like building a brand that people want to belong to.
Yes.
A community.
A community.
Around a shared purpose.
Exactly.
Okay, I like that.
And you know, Camper Shoes is a good example of this.
Okay.
They've really built their brand around this concept of slow living.
Oh, interesting.
Their motto is walk, don't run.
Makes sense with shoes.
Yeah, and it aligns perfectly with their origin in laid-back Mallorca. So they're not just selling shoes.
They're selling a lifestyle.
They're promoting a lifestyle, a way of being.
And so that attracts customers who identify with those values.
Absolutely.
Who want to be part of that camper world.
Yeah, and they do a really good job of weaving that philosophy into their marketing, their store design, even their product development.
So it's all very cohesive.
It all ties together.
Yeah, that's a great example of how to sort of like carve out your space.
Yeah.
In a crowded market.
Yeah, carve out a niche.
It's not just about the product, it's about the values that it represents.
The values and the beliefs.
It makes me think about the brands that I feel connected to. Like, what is it about them that resonates with me? Is it their commitment to sustainability, or maybe their sense of humor, or the social causes they support?
Yeah, it's fascinating how those intangible things can be so influential.
Yeah, for sure. And we're going to be exploring those and more of these fascinating credos in part 2 of our deep dive. So stay tuned to discover how challenger brands are really using their strengths to disrupt industries and win over consumers in today's marketplace.
Yeah, it's going to be good.
It's going to be good.
I'm excited.
I'm excited too. Welcome back to our deep dive into the world of challenger brands.
Yeah, it's exciting to kind of dig deeper into these strategies that allow, you know, those smaller brands to really compete and sometimes even surpass, you know, those established giants.
Yeah, you mentioned before that Morgan outlines 8 credos.
Yes.
And we talked about intelligent naivety and lighthouse identity.
Right.
So what's next on the list?
Well, the next one's called the idea of momentum.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
There's like some energy in that phrase.
Yeah.
Like a forward-moving force.
Exactly. And it's so important for these challenger brands because they can't just rest on their laurels.
Right.
They have to keep generating that excitement, you know, creating a buzz.
Keep people guessing.
Yeah.
What will they do next? Right. They're always sort of one step ahead.
Exactly.
Like the underdog you can't help but root for.
Exactly. Yeah.
So how do they create that?
Well, a big part of it is communication.
Okay.
You know, challenger brands have to be really masterful storytellers.
Okay.
They have to craft these narratives that captivate their audience and build that anticipation.
So it's not just about like listing features and benefits.
It's more than that.
Yeah.
It's about creating a compelling story.
Right, that people want to be a part of.
Yeah, a story that resonates emotionally.
Okay.
Invites them to join a movement.
Okay.
To embrace a philosophy, become a part of something bigger. than themselves.
That reminds me of another one of the credos we haven't talked about, consumer insight.
Ah, yes, that's all about deeply understanding your target audience,
Oh,
their
wow.
needs, desires, motivations, aspirations.
It's more than just surface level.
Way more.
Yeah.
You got to go beyond those demographics
Okay.
and really delve into like their hearts and minds.
It's like being an anthropologist almost.
It is, yeah, you're observing.
Studying behavior to find those hidden truths
Yeah, it's this nugget.
that can spark a connection.
Exactly.
So that by doing that, you can kind of tailor your message.
You can, yeah, I mean, feel personal and meaningful.
Make people feel like you really get them.
Exactly.
But with all this talk about connecting with consumers, we can't forget about differentiation.
Right.
How do you stand out in a crowded marketplace?
Yeah, that's where points of difference comes in.
Okay.
You got to articulate what makes you unique, what sets you apart.
What's your special sauce?
Yeah, your X factor that
Yeah.
makes you memorable.
Not just better features or lower price.
More than that.
Yeah.
It's got to be that overall experience.
Okay.
Think about GoPro.
Okay.
They didn't just create another camera, they created a lifestyle brand
Oh, right.
about adventure and exploration.
Capturing those moments.
Exactly, those breathtaking moments.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So it's about understanding what your customer really values
Mm-hmm.
and then delivering on that.
In a way that feels authentic.
Yeah, authentic and meaningful.
Seems like challenger brands might have an advantage there with authenticity.
I think so, yeah.
They're less burdened by corporate bureaucracy,
All that baggage.
years of tradition,
Right,
so they can kind of be more nimble and responsive
exactly.
to what's happening culturally.
Yeah, they can take risks, experiment, be more playful.
It's like people are tired of the same old,
For sure.
They crave something real,
They want real, relatable.
human,
Yeah,
human.
yeah.
So there's this opportunity to connect on a more personal level,
I think so.
build trust and loyalty.
Absolutely.
It's like you're being invited into the inner circle,
Yeah,
sharing their passion and their vision.
their story.
Yeah, but authenticity alone isn't enough.
No, you're right. You got to stay ahead of the curve.
Right.
Anticipate trends, adapt.
It's like a constant game at chess. You're thinking a few moves ahead.
You got to adapt as you go.
And that's where that agility comes in.
Absolutely.
That ability to pivot.
Yeah, it's a key strength.
They're not weighed down.
by all that legacy.
Yeah. Or rigid processes.
Right?
So they can be more flexible.
It's like they're navigating those uncharted waters
Yeah.
with ease.
While the bigger brands are struggling to keep up.
Yeah, turning that big ship around.
And this brings us to creating value.
Yes,
They have to offer something truly valuable
they do.
to the customer.
Whether it's a product, a service, or a really great experience.
It's not just about being different to be different.
Right.
It's about providing a solution,
Fulfilling a need.
enhancing their lives.
Yeah.
Think about Warby Parker.
Oh, yeah. Great example.
They disrupted the eyewear industry.
They did by offering those high quality, stylish glasses,
Yeah.
but at a fraction of the cost.
They found that opportunity
They did.
to create a better experience.
When they delivered,
And they delivered on that promise.
they did a great blend of technology,
Yeah.
customer-centric approach, and a commitment to social responsibility.
That really resonates with people these days.
Especially, millennials and Gen Z.
They want to support brands that align with their values.
They do. They want to make a difference.
Yeah, it's about weaving purpose into the business model.
Exactly.
Aligning your success with a greater good.
So important these days.
Yeah, it's inspiring stuff.
It is. It really shows that it's not always about size or dominance. It's about mindset and
Yeah.
values and a commitment to creating genuine value.
We've covered a lot of ground, and
Ramp.
there's still more to uncover.
Always more to learn.
Stay tuned for the final part of our deep dive, where we'll explore how to apply all this to your own life and career. Welcome back to the show. It's been so fun diving into these challenger brand principles.
Yeah, it's really inspiring stuff.
Yeah, they really remind us that success isn't always about, being the biggest or the most dominant.
Mhm.
It's about audacity and innovation, and really a willingness to challenge the status quo. It's almost like giving us permission to question the rules and think differently and embrace our own strengths.
Absolutely. I think what's really interesting is how these principles can extend beyond just the business world.
Oh yeah, for sure.
They can offer insights for anybody facing challenges, whether it's personal or professional.
Yeah, we all come up against those metaphorical Goliaths in our lives.
We do.
Those obstacles that just seem impossible to overcome.
Right.
Those times when we feel like the underdog.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's like pursuing a creative passion or advocating for a cause or even just breaking free from those those limiting beliefs that hold us back.
Yeah, those internal Goliaths.
Yeah, exactly. And it can be daunting, you know?
It can be.
But this challenger brand mindset can help us approach those challenges with resilience and resourcefulness.
I think so, yeah.
So how can we apply these principles to our own lives? What really resonated with you?
Well, I think intelligent naivety was a big one for me.
Yeah.
It reminds us that sometimes not being the expert can actually be a huge advantage.
Right, yeah.
It allows us to approach things with a beginner's mind.
Okay.
Ask those dumb questions
Yeah.
that nobody else is asking.
And maybe lead to some breakthroughs.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love that it's like giving yourself permission to be curious and explore new possibilities without feeling constrained by like the right way of doing things.
Absolutely.
And lighthouse identity, I think, is also really relevant here.
Yeah.
It's about identifying those core values that really shape who we are.
Those guiding principles.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, being clear about what you stand for,
Okay.
what you want to contribute to the world.
It's like having a compass, you know,
It is, yeah.
to help navigate challenges and make sure we're staying true to ourselves.
Absolutely. And it also helps to attract like-minded people,
Oh, yeah.
you know, that share those values.
It's about community.
It's about building community.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not just about achieving individual success.
Right.
It's about contributing to something bigger.
And what about that idea of momentum?
Oh,
That sense of always moving forward and pushing boundaries and not being afraid to take risks.
Exactly.
It's like that entrepreneurial spirit, even if we're not, you know, running our own businesses.
Right, yeah.
It's about approaching life with a sense of adventure
Absolutely.
and being open to learning and growing along the way.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, we've talked about how challenger brands focus on creating value for their customers.
Yeah, providing the solutions.
And similarly in our own lives, we can ask ourselves, how can I contribute? How
Yeah.
can I make a positive impact?
It could be through work or creative pursuits or relationships
Yeah.
or community involvement. There are so many ways.
Yeah, we all have the potential to make a difference.
We do.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into challenger brands,
Yeah.
let's embrace that challenger spirit, you know,
Be bold, be curious,
be authentic.
and never stop pushing those boundaries.
Yeah, this has been a really incredible journey.
It has.
Thanks for joining us, and we hope you found some valuable insights and inspiration to apply to your own life.
I hope so.
Until next time, keep challenging, keep learning, and keep making your mark on the world.